Alright, hello everybody, my name's Mark. I'm an intermediate chess player and going to be just live streaming a 5-minute game I'm playing. Hopefully play well, hopefully do some instructive things if you're well, not so high rated as me, and if you are higher rated perhaps you can drop me some advice as well so we can learn together. Okay, just open up my bishop, defend my pawn, capture here and then play bishop d3 so I don't lose a tempo. If I play bishop d3 and he goes d takes c, it'll be annoying. Okay, he's playing pretty fast. Just castle here. Okay. I think a3 and then b4. And then maybe rook c1, queen c2, etc. I actually want to keep my queen and my rook on the a file in case he plays b4. Keep pressure on that pawn. Maybe relocate my bishop back to the h2, b8 diagonal. Might be stronger over there. He hasn't castled though, so opening up the center wouldn't be such a bad idea, I guess. Maybe just rook c1. Yeah, I think rook c1. I changed my mind from before. Okay, I'm okay with this exchange. His dark squares on the queen side and king side, I guess, are going to be really weak now that he's played that. Perhaps capturing this knight and then double attacking it, inducing f5. e6 will become weaker. Maybe just queen c2, threatening to win a pawn. Takes. Seems like an okay try. Okay, now we've got a nice knight on e5. Okay, so my knight's pinned. I'll just back up my queen, I guess. He still hasn't castled. Surely I'd be able to take advantage of that. Excuse me. Okay, I've got a clock deficit. f3, just kick his knight out of my area. Rook capture. Okay, so he's not going to take it. It's interesting. Prevent his knight from dropping in. Just c4, that would be a bit of a pain. Even though it does weaken my own knight, I can play queen b2. It doesn't have dark squared bishop, so my queen's going to be better on a dark square in the long run anyway. It's got lateral defense against g2 as well, so he's hitting the e3 pawn. Oh, shall I play king f2 or rook e1? My rook might be deflected eventually off the defense of that pawn. I think I want to get my king up anyway. You have to speed up a little bit here. He's going very quickly. I'm thinking knight e2 to f4. That's weakened the dark squares around his king immensely. I'm going to get my queen up and hopefully get it to the king side. Via d2, maybe get on that diagonal. If I can break through with d4. Okay, I'm just going to have to take that. Okay, so now I can get a strong knight on c5 here. He's weakening his dark squares a lot. Just got to move quickly, that's all. I feel like my position with my strong knight on e5 and a stronger knight coming in on c5 is going to be really tough for him to counteract. His bishop's hit, I mean it's no big deal right now, but I'm thinking about queen c3, doubling rooks on the c file. Perhaps even rook a1. Now queen c3 seems stronger now, because after I recapture that bishop's going to be hanging. He might just back it up to a8, I guess. Oh, he missed that. Yeah. Okay, he's going to have a check at the end of it, so I'm actually not... Wow, he didn't go for it, okay. Just capture here. And I'm just going to get my knight off. Oh no, it's okay. Thought I was dropping a piece. I was not. I'm going to capture with the recapture with the E knight, the knight on E, because I don't want the C file to open up with my king on second rank all exposed and whatnot. Though I'm not going to really have a choice in the matter, am I? Yeah, this is going to be... My king's going to have to run a little bit, but I think it'll be safe on G3. 1 minute 46, plenty of time if I can just take my piece advantage into the middle game. Actually, I'm going to play bishop b5 here, defending my knight. If his knight moves, I can catch f6. So all my pieces are defended. I'm looking at a5 here. I'm going to take it now. My bishop's doing a good job of blocking out his knight. Okay, so he's coming for my bishop. I'm going to just back my bishop up, I think. He can't have this check anyway because my knight's still on c5. Okay, he's trying to challenge that. That's fine. Let's challenge... Oh no, we can't challenge his knight like that. We can challenge this knight, however. If he takes, we'll just recapture. No need to go crazy. Okay, we've got... Oh, that's going to be defended as well. That's a pain. This is a double attack on that knight now. Bishop and rook. So I think I'm going to win even more material. This knight on d6 is undefended, and I think he's going to struggle defending all this. Recapture with my rook. Force another exchange. Should I not capture this at all? Okay, so my opponent's just resigned. At the end here, I was just thinking about not recapturing the pawn just to avoid him escaping with the check on f5. So if I played his king e2, he's got no more checks to save his knight with, and then his rook's going to fall. See if I take king takes e3, knight f5, check. I've got to move my king again, and then his rook can get out of the way, and he's saved both pieces. Even though he is still down a lot of material, it wouldn't have been great. Let's take a quick analysis of the game, I think. Okay. So it started as a typical, what was it, a Slav. Just developing my pieces, straightforward. Captured here on d5, because the variation where I play bishop d3 allows black to capture on c4, and then when I capture again with my bishop, I feel like my bishop's a little misplaced. It is relatively strong on that diagonal, but I'd prefer it tucked in away behind my pawn chain, and I don't want to lose time doing that. So I just capture and then play bishop d3. I feel like he went for this expansion on the queen side too early. He doesn't have enough firepower over there. His bishop and two knights are over in the center, so that's not amazing either. A3 was to sprint b4. That was okay, but I feel like after this capture, and he lost his dark squared bishop. I feel like his dark squares for the rest of the game were picked on a little bit here. So he played this knight move to reinforce his knight, because I was threatening to capture 3 times and he only had 3 defenders now. However, this did allow knight e5, and because he hasn't got a dark squared bishop and his f-pawn is blocked, there is no way to dislodge this knight unless he trade one of his own knights, which are all strong. If he ever plays like knight g4 after preparing it, obviously with maybe h5 or whatever, I just capture and then capture 3 times on e4 again, and I make material. And I feel like he should have castled at this point, rather than putting pressure down my c file. He needs to castle, and like my king's just so much safer. It's incredible. I don't think this move from him was good. Knight d6. Yeah, I have a few weak pawns, namely e3, but it's hard for him to get there, especially because on dark square, his light squared bishop isn't in the game at all, whereas mine is covering a lot of squares. b3 was basically prophylaxis to prevent knight to c4, which would have been annoying, challenging my strong knight, and also just annoying in general, you know, like hitting the e3 pawn. I think b3 was very necessary to stop that. He played knight f5 anyway, 1 move threats. I don't think this is it seems like he didn't really have a plan going forward. My plan was always just to dominate the c file and try and get play on the dark squares, and I thought I did a pretty good job up to this point. King f2 rather than rook e1. I feel like my rook might be needed over on the c file at some point. Might get deflected perhaps after, I'm not 100% sure, but if I ever move my knight, I retain the option of doing so because after he recaptures, if there's ever a double recapture here, my rook would have been deflected and knight takes e2, e3 would have been annoying. g6, I felt this is a really weakening move and really unnecessary. Like, I'm never sure I'm Oh, actually, I didn't notice that at all. Okay, so when he plays here, okay. That's something I missed in the game. Bishop takes f5, pawn takes f5, queen takes f5, and I'm up a pawn with the weak pawn on d5. So I guess that's the reasoning behind him playing g6, but I honestly am finding it hard to suggest another plan for him. My pawns are doing really good jobs of stopping his knights. I can't remember exactly who it was, but a famous chess player said, maybe it was William Steinitz said, to play against knights, remove forward support points, or something along those lines, and I feel like these pawns are doing a great job. So knight on f6 is really boxed out. Queen b2, playing on the dark squares, and preparing to come to the queen side if necessary, and also playing to d2 where it's more centralized. Looking at this nice diagonal up and down here, and also this direction, much stronger than when it was on b2 or b1. This was a mistake, big time. b4 was a huge mistake. It basically gave me the c5 square, and considering he doesn't have a dark squared bishop and both his knights are over on the king side, this was a huge mistake in a positional sense. Obviously it doesn't drop material on the spot, but knight a4 into c5 is just winning in my opinion. So dropping my knight in straight away, just hitting his bishop, basically threatening to win material if his queen's ever deflected, which was the purpose of queen c3. I was also thinking about moves like rook a1, queen a3, so not only when I recapture I'll also be on the a5 pawn, but that was a bit slow for my liking, so queen c3 straight away. He took, I took, and I thought now bishop a8 was pretty much forced, but at the same time bishop a8, rook f to a1, not exactly sure how he goes about defending the a5 pawn. Knight c6, just capture twice and then capture the a5 pawn. I've got a passer on b. Would have been bad for him, I guess. He played knight c6 anyway, possibly to just basically get rid of my strong knight on e5, which is a good idea. Capturing a free bishop is always on. Now this is where I was thinking a bit of tactics might have came into play. Knight takes e5, equalizes material. Rook takes rook, and he throws in the swish and zug, knight d3 check. I have to play king e2 or whatever. Then he recaptures his rook. I recapture my knight. So I guess in the end it would have been equal material. My king would have been in a much more central post, and I think this a5 pawn would have been chopped up, but I think that would have been, and I guess I had the extra knight on b7, so perhaps not, but probably a much better try in the end. But now because he doesn't take the knight, this swish and zug doesn't work because I just recapture with my own knight, and when he captures my rook, I'm up a minor piece. In case he just took the minor piece anyway, trying to keep a strong knight. Knight c5, bishop, knight e8. I guess just trying to get in a position to challenge something, threatening the pawn. Now he plays f7, f6, excuse me, knight e to d7, rook c7. I don't know that what exactly, like I don't think he was ever threatening to take my knight, but I think just adding extra pieces to the defense with bishop b5 and also prevents him ever capturing if my knight on c5 has to move. For example, if he ever plays king g7 as a mistake, I play knight takes e6 check, and then when I capture his rook, he doesn't have knight takes d3 check available. Also overloading the defense, not overloading, overprotecting, as Nimzovich pointed out in my system. King 7, rook a5, taking a free pawn, and I think that was a mistake because it simply pushed my bishop back to a square it wanted to be, where it's much more safe. It's defended by a pawn, and it's defending the pawn. And then trying to undermine my knight, even though it has two defenders and it's only got one attacker. I mean, I guess it's better than any other try. However, rook b5 threatening the knight. Perhaps a better try was to bring the knight to c2 and cause mischief in my camp. Nevertheless, he brought it back, and then the double attack ended the game, basically. With whatever I did, basically, would have won material. And so at this point, I'm up 2 minor pieces, and only down... in fact, I'm even in material with my pawns. So that was that game. I thought I played relatively well, made a couple of mistakes early, missing a chance to nab a pawn and a good advantage, but I think my opponent after the move after the move b4, here on move 20, made a big mistake positionally, and it basically caused him to lose the game. I mean, dropping his bishop didn't help as well, but I'd expect 1700 rated players to be more focused on the positional aspects of the position, and basically this move does nothing except let my knight get to a square, where it's amazing because of this exchange of dark squared bishops earlier in the game. So yeah, hope you like that. Any feedback, advice, tips would be amazing, and I hope you learned something. Cheers.